Hey team, welcome back to the show. Today we have the whole team back after a brief hiatus by Natalie. You were sorely missed. We're talking about the things all of our clients who build the most muscle have in common. What do all those people do? Success leaves clues, as they say. So get ready to get your feelings hurt on this one. But first, let's get into some personal updates with our exciting personal lives. Natalie, what's going on with you?
I don't think my updates are the most exciting, but that's okay. We'll go out with a bang with like Andrea. Um,
Perfect.
just in a little bit of a cleanup phase here. My weight peaked around 153 the other week. Like I don't think I made it to 154 this time, but like 153. And so in a little bit of a cleanup phase now and already pretty steadily into the 149s. So cruising right along, a little increase of cardio this week. Um, and I was joking around with Andrea earlier. I was like, if it's not prep, I don't want to diet. I mean, it's fine, but like, it's funny how the longer I've been in this, the more I view a diet or a cleanup phase as just like something to get over with so I can get right back to building.
Feel
Where life
that.
is good and it's really fun. Like, honestly, I don't mind this. It's like, I'm doing it because it's what's needed, but I'm not particularly excited the way that I might have been like a few years ago. Like, oh, cool, let's peel it back and let's see what we got. It's like, nah, I just want to get straight back to building.
How much are your calories down from where they were at peak build?
um, about 500.
Okay, not bad at all. How much
Yeah,
meatball are you right now?
100%.
What? 100% still. Okay. So still doing pretty
I'm
well.
on about like 2,300 calories or so. He peeled off like 100 grams of carbs and like 10 grams of fat right off the rip, and then cardio went up straight away, like to 20 minutes 4 times a week. And this week he went up to 25, 4 times a week.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's funny though, like how mindset makes it feel so different. Like when you're in prep, it's like, yeah, let's go, like give me more, you know? And this is kind of like that SpongeBob meme where it's like, I'm gonna head out. Like every morning when I do my cardio, like, all right, like let's get this done. And don't get me wrong, I'm still like pumped about the process. I still like get out of bed every day and like tick my boxes happily, but it really is just like, let's just get this out of the way so I can get right back to building.
How much does he have an estimated time frame for you?
No, but if I had to guess, I would say 10 to 12 pounds. He'd want to
Hmm.
see what things looked like.
I would have thought like 25.
I mean, the thing of it is like, I was sitting about 30 pounds above my last stage weight, and like we can hope that my next stage weight will be heavier. Like, please, like would have hoped to have put on a little bit of mass since last year. So assuming that stage weight goes up a little bit, you kind of like not only want to get yourself within a good range of that projected stage weight, like so you just don't want to be too far off the mark there, to create like I don't want to have another like 40-pound prep or something like that, but then also have enough runway to build, and have somewhere to like be able to go again. Um, so I mean, I would just think like, I don't know, maybe I'd be happy with like 12 pounds just because I think that would put me in a safer zone to build a
That
little
gives you
bit.
a long time, yeah. What
Yeah, it's like I don't want to have to like, depends on how he wants to structure the rest of my off season because like I don't really want to have to diet again until it's time to prep, you know?
which would be remind me potential show dates if you want to talk about it.
Probably like early 2027.
Okay, so you just need like another 5, 6 months of building.
Yeah, like I would say another like really big push if I can kind of, he might also not be as aggressive this next build, knowing that prep might be on the other side of that. So
Fair
it'll
enough.
be interesting. I'll just do what I'm told, as always.
Sick. All right. Well, glad it's going well. Getting less rotund. Um, anything else on your end?
Um, I think I did update everyone that I have a new foster dog.
How
She's
is Lexi?
she's super cute. She's pretty easy for the most part. I think she's still decompressing,
Mhm.
because she just sleeps all the time. But I can't tell if she's sort of like at that phase where like a little over a week now that I've had her, that she's sort of like starting to come out of her shell and you're starting to like get a truer sense of like what she's like. Because, I was crating her when I went to the gym, which was no problem. And now it's a problem. She destroyed the bottom of her crate
I saw
yesterday.
that.
And I'm like, I don't know who's more traumatized, like me or her. Because I'm like, oh my God, like, what if I can't leave my apartment ever? So that's something that we're trying to work through. So anyone
You
out
make
there who like specializes in like separation anxiety with dogs, like get into my DMs and tell me what to do.
I am not a good one to help on that. Our dog is the same. I have separation anxiety being away from my dog as well, so I get it.
Did you destroy your
Uh,
crate too?
no, not yet. On my end, basically the same as Natalie. What we're 2 weeks into, just a week and a half, I guess. My check-in was on Tuesday, cleanup phase. We pulled calories a little bit lower again. I think initially he dropped from like 4,200 to 3,700. He pulled them down to 3,300 now. And then I also got an initial 5 minutes of cardio. So I moved from three 25-minute sessions to three 30-minute sessions, which always cracks me up, the 5 minute increments, especially at like three. It's like, all right, I guess, I mean, we're doing a little something there.
I do
But
that to my clients a lot though, but like when you think about it, if let's say you're doing 4 sessions of like 20 minutes, right? And then
yeah,
you
it
add
adds up.
5 minutes, it's like
It's
a
like another
whole
session
other session. So
for
it is
sure.
meaningful, but it is also funny. I'm with you.
Oh, no, I completely trust my coach and I will work them
Yeah.
up in like increments like that as well. It just always cracks me up for some reason. And
Do
yeah,
you do you
past,
know how
go ahead.
long you're gonna go for? Or like,
My timeline says through the last week of July. So, I mean, I basically just have like 4 or 5 more weeks of this and then we'll get back to another push phase. We'll see. I mean, even like I'm like 233, so I lost like 3 to 4 pounds so far. But again, it's gut content. Like, by no means is that all body fat, but I mean, feel pretty decent where I'm at. I think we would realistically, similarly, I think we would probably want to lose like 12 to 15. I imagine he would probably want to get me around like 220 ish. I'd be curious to see how things look then, like 220 to 225. I don't think it doesn't sound like he has aspirations to pull me down a whole lot from where I'm at right now.
mhm.
So I might crack 250, 260 by the end of the year. We'll see. I don't know if I'll actually get that high. It would be sick, but yeah. I asked him how much he wanted to pull off. He said, I have no idea. We'll see. So TBD on that one. But yeah, going well.
Are you hungry?
Andrea, what's that?
Are you hungry?
I definitely have an appetite, which is a good feeling, really, because I was at the point where I was consistently pretty full, and now it's like my meals aren't that much smaller, but it is surprising. I remember like the last couple weeks being like, man, like I'm like working to get through all this, and now just a little bit less rice and whatnot. I'm like, oh, that's gone already. It seems like they go so much quicker. So I'm definitely not hungry. I have a healthy appetite now, which is cool. And we're still on a good amount of food. So I'm curious to see how things go. But I definitely like my last cleanup phase I did as well. Like I lost on a lot higher intake than I've been able to previously. So see how it goes. Andrea, by far the most interesting updates on your end. Fill us in on your life.
I actually don't know if that's true because I've been just holding. So the week before the first show, she was feeding me hard. I was eating a lot of food. I think I mentioned it on here last week, but I was eating over 500 carbs and 80 grams of fat per day, leading up to the other show because I was a little lean and flat. And right now, my carbs have been 250 on rest days and 300 on training days, and 50 grams of fat. And that's just kind of holding me pretty steady. um, and she's still holding me here as of right now, and I'm gonna check in again Sunday or Monday. That will be just under 2 weeks out, and she said we'll feed up just a little bit, but it's not gonna have to be nearly as aggressive as last time, which is good because I always wake up with my core, like, a lot tighter, easier to hold versus later in the day with more food. So, it would be nice to not have to eat that much.
For sure. Do you do waist training every day?
So, I did vacuums every day for a long time, but I have this pain on one of my ribs that starts to get aggravated with
Oh,
them.
really?
So I'm a little bit more conservative with it now, but
Huh.
I'll do
Okay.
something most days of the week, but not every day because I had to ease up on it or else it starts to hurt like even in posing.
Okay. That
So
makes sense. How are you feeling about like your look now versus your look 2 weeks out last time? Is it quite a bit different? Is it about the same? What do you think?
so I mean there are subtle changes. It's definitely not like, oh my gosh, this is night and day difference, but I am up like mm, 8 pounds ish. Which is
Okay.
pretty significant in like
Yeah.
mostly glycogen and water, a little bit of body fat because I was just a little bit too lean. Um, so I mean that's quite a bit. I can see it in my pictures for sure, but it's always hard to be objective with yourself on that stuff.
I'm really excited to see like your look at for this show versus the last and just how much you've improved as well. How is your SI joint stuff doing good? Doing is that good or
A lot better, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
good.
I did like some relatively light RDLs with dumbbells the other day, and the next day felt it just a little bit, so I pulled back. But it's been good since then. So I'm just
Uh,
being overly cautious because I know at this point I'm not building muscle. I'm just kind of maintaining.
yeah.
So I'm just being cautious with it, but also it's nice to be back to relatively normal training at this point.
Okay, sick. Well, very excited for you. Anything else on your end before we get into it?
Yeah, not really. I think
Can
that's
you
it.
see Natalie? Is that just me?
Her
Or-
camera's off.
Okay. Might be having dog issues. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and get into the things our clients who build the most muscle all do. So, just going to kind of riff off of each other here. I'm sure we'll all have a lot to add to this. But again, everyone who starts coaching with us, the one of the primary goals is always, hey, I want to build a lot of muscle. Some people do extremely well. All that's really like when we're looking at the physique changes our clients see, like the fact, like the impressive transformations we put out. Is so much of that is because our people build so much muscle. But to get there, it's not just hire us, we give you a smart training program, you automatically build muscle. The way you approach it as a client dictates so much of what you'll get out of that process. So just wanted to talk through again, like the things that we have all seen the people who have been the most successful in terms of building muscle have in common, because again, there are definitely commonalities between all these people. One thing I think we all agree on, my first point, they send a lot of training videos every week. This is like one of the single biggest pieces of all of this, right? This is how we actually help you refine your movement. Make sure we're training hard enough, make sure we have the execution down. Like so much of our coaching service is we get training videos from you. We'll talk you through, okay, here's what we're seeing. Here's how we need to adjust your setup, your positioning, your intent, whatever it may be to get more out of this. Um, Big bonus, if these aren't awful videos, they don't need to be high quality by any means, but we need to be able to see what's going on. I've had a few clients where it's like, dude, I can like, we're doing a leg press. I can't see your feet. I can't see your head. I can like see your hips, like, and I can see like your thighs come into the camera briefly and then like back out. Like, it's very hard
Yeah.
for me to do a whole lot with this. So can we like try to get our whole body in the frame? That helps. And again, typically we address it, it's not a big deal. Again, they don't have to be like, you can prop your phone up on the water bottle and just record from there. It doesn't have to be super high quality, but being able to see what's going on here is very important. And I would say as well, once we get, because a lot of times it'll be like we get to the point where, okay, this movement looks good. Still, like the people who continue to build are continually sending training videos every week forever, or as long as they're working with us, right? It's not like a, hey, we nailed things and then we stopped doing it. Because the reality is like a lot of times when I'm coaching someone, it's kind of like working through a refinement process where I want them to master like the basics of execution first and then the intensity. And then there's a lot more we can dive into, like to refine the movement further. But I want to get to like good enough first and then get them training hard and then like master it more. But a lot of times like things with their execution step up as we increase loading, as just like things we taught you kind of fall to the back of your mind. So continually sending videos is very important. Anything to add there?
Um, sending, and it's okay if you're sending consistently the same one for a while. I know we like to cycle through a lot of videos, but typically what we're starting with is, hey, this one is going to be a really big bang for your buck movement. Let's send it right away. Let's get some good progression on it. But it's okay if we're consistently touching on that one for a while before moving on. I know we're going to kind of touch on that too. But just getting comfortable with sending videos, it seems like a hurdle for some people initially. And what I always tell people, like you said, just like prop your phone up on the water bottle, put it far enough away that we can see, usually starting out from a side view. And once you do it a couple times, you'll realize that nobody really cares at all in your gym, unless you're like, putting up a tripod that's capturing them right there in the foreground or something. Nobody really cares that you're taking a video. I feel like that's what is kind of something that people have to get over initially. There's just like a shyness, or feels like you're trying to be an influencer whenever you set your camera up at first.
But really, no one cares. Like,
Right.
so many people in the gym are doing it now, and it's to make you better, right? It's like
Right.
ultimately, if we want the outcome we want out of this, there's no way around it. We're gonna need a lot of training clips from you. Cool. Um, Anything you would add there, Natalie, before we get into the next one? Having dog troubles. Cool. Next up, they actually apply the training feedback. So next to you sending training videos, this is the next most important piece. Now, it will oftentimes take weeks or months to master something. So I know I probably have a lot of clients listening who are like, well, shit, like I haven't mastered the movement from last week yet. That's okay. But it'll take a long time. It's taken me many, many weeks and months oftentimes to master movements as well. But we do want to be intentional about, okay, what was the feedback I got last time? Going into the next session, like here's what I would recommend doing. This is what I do personally. When I am going into my session, I will look over my feedback from these movements from the last week, make a note of them. A lot of times I'll like review it again. Sometimes I'll even like look over my video. If it's like attached to my video, I'll look over my video again as well. Okay, what was I doing there? What was the feedback? What do I need to change? Make sure I like made a note in my training program for it as well, and review that again right before I go into the session, alongside like right when I get that feedback. So then I can actually apply it. A lot of times if we're making the same mistake over and over and over again, it's like because we're not actually applying the feedback. So again, like we can give it as on one end, but if it's like, hey, we like, yes, we listen to two or watch the feedback or whatever, we get it and then we forget about it, we're not really getting any further. So making sure you have a process for actually applying that going into the next session, which again, I would just review the feedback from that session as you're going into those movements, or at least like as you're warming up for that training day, to make sure you can apply it. Anything else you guys would add there?
Yeah, you can also film your warm up. So pull up the
Yeah,
feedback
good
from your
show.
coach from the last week and then film your warm up. And are you applying that feedback before you throw load on it? Because a lot of times I'll get a video and they're like, oh, yeah, I remembered what you said and I did it for the next set. And it's like, cool,
That's a really
but
good
you
point.
sent me a video from the first set, so I didn't get to see you apply it.
I just had this conversation as well with a client, like, hey, so this is what I saw in the first set. And I loved it. He like was drawing on the pictures of like, here's how it was set up and here's what I should change next time. I was like, perfect. Now, can we just start getting the first set right as well? Right? Which, yeah, just film your warm up set if we're not confident in it. Very good point. I think while we're on the note of training feedback, I think somebody took a bunch of my points and changed them to a different color to take credit for them here. Uh, they don't take training feedback or any feedback personally, which again is another important aspect of this, because similar to the last point, there will be a lot of times, weeks and months, where, hey, this is improved, but to get to where you want to be, it still needs to be better, right? I thought this so often, like so much of my conversation with clients are like, dude, you're training so much harder. this is improving so much. Now we still need to improve this and this to get to the physique you want because you have big physique goals. That's not a personal attack at all, right? This is in part, we all love coaching. We love helping you get as jacked as possible, right? This is fun. The fact that we can always grow and improve is fun. But also, that's ultimately what you're paying a coach for, is to help make you better. So if we're like, well, I don't want to tell her she could have pushed harder even though she could have because that might hurt her feelings, we're hurting your progress there, right? We're not giving you the thing you're paying us to do in the first place. So understand that it is never personal, right? It's just such an important part of you growing, right? If we're just, again, like catering just to, I want to tell them what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear to get where they want to be, you're not going to make progress. Thoughts?
Yeah, I made a post about this last week or something, and I said, because I know, like, I'm very picky with my training feedback. I know we all are, but I know I have a lot of clients. It's like 20 weeks in, and I'm still like on them about like the same thing or like same movement or whatever, and they're like, I'm never gonna get this right. It's like, right, but how discouraging would it be if you still didn't look and feel the way you want to look and feel? And my feedback was, looks great. Like,
That's a
keep
good
doing what
point.
you're doing. Like, that's confusing. And
Right.
also, we do all need to be of the mindset that we're all in this for life. Like, we're going to be working on you. There's no nirvana where your RDL is perfect until the day you die. Like, oh, I finally nailed this and it's never an issue again. Like, no. Like, then you upgrade to new problems, you know? So I think a lot of it is mindset in terms of like, you're never there and there are always going to be things to work on, but also like, that's part of the fun of it.
Every
Beautifully
once in
put.
a while, there will be like a little bit of, I don't know if defensiveness is the right word, but like frustration or just feeling like they're not doing things well because they still have things to work on. And I'll get comments like, oh, it's been 4 weeks or 6 weeks and I still haven't gotten this one nailed. And I'll say it feels like it took me like a decade to nail down my RDL. Like, you're actually crushing it. We've made a ton of improvement here. Um, but that post, Natalie, that you made about like practicing things for a long time and the step down you'd been working on since January, I've sent that to a lot of people
Oh, thank you.
because it is normal and fine to have to work on things like that for quite a while, especially if you're going against an ingrained movement pattern from years and years, or like a movement dysfunction issue that you have. It's going to take quite a bit of time to rewire that. And then on the intensity piece, what I'll often find is I'm pushing people on intensity for months sometimes. And once that finally clicks, then they're able to apply that across the board for the most part on their training, and progress just skyrockets. And it's like, man, well, like we could have been doing this earlier on, but it's so normal for that to take a lot of time.
I think also people need to not approach their training like it's pass fail, because
Yeah.
just because we're like working on something. So let's take my step downs as an example. And like the example is that I've been doing them since January, and like it's now June, almost July. And just the other week, I felt like they truly clicked. Like, it wasn't just a couple reps, it wasn't just like one set. It's like, okay, no, now every set, every rep is like firing on all cylinders. But this isn't pass fail. So it doesn't mean that like I was getting zero out of what I was doing before. And I
Yeah.
think people have this all or nothing perception of like, well, I'm not nailing this and it's not perfect. So therefore, like, I'm not getting anything out of this. And like, that's not true. You're still moving load. Like, sure, maybe it's not like optimal. Maybe it's not as good as you can get, as I know you can get it if we keep working on it, but you're still like, you still have weight in your hand. And in step down example, it's like I still have a weight in my hand and I am stepping up with it. Like, my lower body is working. It's doing something.
Yeah. I constantly use the dartboard analogy, right? Where it's like, I'm trying to get you to like bullseye's 20 points. I'm trying to get you to a bullseye with all these sets, but we're still getting like 15 points. We're still getting points on the board here. It's very,
Right.
very rare that it's like, I had feedback for you on the set, so you got nothing at all out of it. That's not the case, right? We still like, hey, we're still progressing here. Like this was still a progressive stimulus. We can just get a little bit more out of it. Um, and yeah, I think the time frames with which it takes to master these things are so important because like I would say all of our clients are way ahead of us in terms of like how quickly we were able to RDL, right? Like I don't know, like both of you probably like when I was coaching you, just like with the amount I knew about biomechanics and execution then, like even when I thought you guys were nailing it then, like our clients now will probably move better or have a better understanding of these things at least than we did at that time. And you know, that was just a couple of years ago, but very deep into all of our journeys already for all of us. Or like my client Lauren, who I posted, like her like photo shoot transformation, and she's built a lot of muscle. Literally for our first year, almost, I think it was like we had a conversation that was like, dude, it's been a year. My feedback for you every week has been, we still need to push so much harder. How much longer are we going to keep doing this before we just like take a set to failure? Which finally kind of like got things to click for her. And now she trains so hard. It's sick, and she's made a ton of progress, but like it also does still just take time. So it's understand that like we're not getting impatient with you as well just because we have feedback or like we're making the same mistakes, but we do want to see you continually improve at the same time. Anything else to add there before we continue? All right. Next, the people who build the most muscle don't consistently find a reason to skip 1 to 2 sessions every other week. In fact, I would say it's very, very rare that they miss it all. I have worked with a few clients in my day whose goal was to build muscle, but it's like, man, like every couple of weeks, whether we're in a building phase, whether we're in a fat loss phase, a lot of times they're more consistent in fat loss and building, but it's like, man, okay, this week, like, I don't know, my family was here, so I could only do like 1 or 2 of my 4 training sessions. And then I was traveling, so like I could only squeeze in like 1 of my sessions. And then like, okay, maybe we have a consistent week. And then like, oh man, I was feeling pretty beat up this week. Like I was only able to get in like 1 or 2 sessions. And it can very easily turn into like, we're doing like 50 to 70% of our training sessions. We look at this over the course of like 4 to 5 months. Again, we're at like 60 to 70% completion here. We're just not going to get very far like that. Your training is the actual stimulus to build muscle. So the people who build the most now, we had a conversation around auto regulation and like when we would use that with clients and when we wouldn't. There's a time and a place for that for sure. But at the same time, I find that the people who build the most muscle, it's incredibly rare that they're actually missing sessions. Maybe there's times where like, hey, we took an extra rest day, but it's incredibly rare. It's like I had it this week where I missed 2 sessions, and then especially when it's happening multiple times within a month, we're just not going to get very far like that. Like if we're training 4 days a week, we have 16 sessions a month. You know, like us missing 3 or 4 of those, we're just leaving so much on the table. Anything to add there from either of you?
These are typically the clients where we're having to encourage them to take a day. Like, hey, you're sick. Let's not go to the gym. Or this is, you have a trip once a year or once every 6 months. It's okay if you're going to be in a hotel gym. You can also just treat it like a deload if you want. Like, that's the kind of client who is typically building the most muscle because they're so committed to getting their sessions in that we're having to like let them know every once in a while it is okay. But they're definitely not just finding reasons, as you said, to skip them.
Absolutely. That's a very good point.
When you're consistently skipping sessions like that too, you come back and it's been 2 weeks or whatever since you've hit that same session, and now you're sore all over again, and you're not in a groove with that movement pattern. So it's more than just that missing volume. It's like you're cheating yourself out of getting into a groove. And so
You're
instead of
missing
just
practice.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Instead of just like, hey, we hit, 7 out of 8 sessions, that's whatever percent. It's worse than that. It's like you're now making the next session worse. And I mean, I don't want to make people paranoid about like completely messing themselves up if they have to miss one every once in a while. But for those that need to hear that and that are lacking that consistency, I think it's important to know that it's not just that missing volume for that one day that you're cheating yourself out of.
Way to fearmonger, Andrea.
I know. This is pass fail.
I just had a conversation with one of my coaches, Nick Ridpath, because we're like kind of doing a little mini deload right now, a little bit with some upper body volume. And I have a family vacation coming up in a couple weeks, and I'm like, I just like really want to hang on till then. And then I'll just like, I'll just like take the week off or whatever. And so we were talking about it. And I know this is gonna sound like super pick me, and I don't mean it like this, but thinking through this and talking to him, I was like, I haven't taken a week off of training since I went to Norway in August of 2024. And again, I don't say that to be like, look at me, look at, or anything like that. But my biggest goal is to build muscle and get as jacked as humanly possible. Like I don't want to miss training. And like it's a part of my schedule, it's part of the routine. I've accepted the terms of the contract of like getting jacked. And I also never really go anywhere, so I know that that's not always
Well,
normal.
but that's not true either. Like you went to Guatemala and you went to Mississippi and
true.
you went to Phoenix. Like you're I know some of those are with us, and so we're gonna train. We're obviously gonna train. But like Guatemala, like you're not missing training sessions there. So it's not
Right,
like you're only consistent because you don't have a reason not to be. You're making it work
right.
and you're doing it despite it being inconvenient sometimes.
Right, like, I pick and choose if the like, Norway, I didn't wanna train because that's not how I wanted to spend my time. Like, I was doing, like, an overnight hike too. It's, like, not really practical at that point, but I am strategic, like, if you're every single time you go out of town, like, let's say your primary goal is to build muscle, and, like, every single time you go out of town, which let's say that's once a month, it's like, you're missing a lot, actually. Like, if you take off every single time.
Absolutely. Natalie was in jail for like 3 months and still didn't miss a session, actually.
That was actually the
Uh,
most productive time.
Those prison yard gyms are underrated, I'm telling you.
who is the dude? Have you guys heard of hyphy mud? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It
No.
was something like they would mix like Diet Coke and who was this guy? Me and Wyatt used to love this YouTube video. This dude, super jacked, black dude, huge bodybuilder. Was it like Cali Muscle? I don't, back in like 2012. Anyways, he was like talking about like their like his like prison routine and like their like
Oh,
they'd mix like coffee grounds with Diet Coke or something, and that was like the pre-workout. I don't remember.
God.
Moving on. Um, they don't ask for a diet for every trip, birthday, summer, or Tuesday. Natalie, was this your point?
No, you said everything was yours, but in red
This
now.
was not mine. I will give you credit for it if you would like to elaborate.
Um, Again, if building muscle is the primary goal, then we can't afford to put the brakes on every 3 months. Like every single time you feel fluffy, every single time you have a vacation you want to lean down for, every summer, like we need to accept that we are not going to be our absolute bone dry leanest 365 days a year.
Anything else to add to that? I would agree. I even like, I think, yeah, probably if you want to drastically change your physique, just accept you're going to need to spend like a year plus focused on building to really get like a big jump for most people. And if we're trying to split that up into like every 3-4 months we're dieting, we're just not going to get far. All right, next. They learn training intensity. I think we talked about this a lot. You need to train really hard to build muscle. Anyone have anything to add there? Probably harder than you think. It should feel uncomfortable. Um, Kind of ties into they don't think training hard feeling, or they don't think that training feeling hard is a negative thing. Which I swear this was my point. This is the one that I thought got changed over. Was this yours, Natalie?
I thought it was, but
All
maybe.
right, put it in your more eloquent than I have words. Why this is important.
I get the comment nearly every week, like, "This felt hard." And I'm like, "Okay, good." Probably getting somewhere then, like, that's it's not a bad thing, like, it should be hard. Um, Training hard is uncomfortable, but it's not painful, and it's not a bad thing. It is, like, the best metaphor, I think, for, like, growth is uncomfortable, because that's what we need to do, and I
Right.
think people I mean, honestly, I think some of it is just a learning. I think we get a lot of clients who have accomplished a lot, like, on their own or with other coaches, and they come to us because they're a little frustrated because they wanna take it to the next level. It's like everything I was doing is no longer working. So, like, what am I missing? This is a really big one, and it can be learned. And I honestly think it's just like that it's exposure to what proper training intensity feels like. And I think it's an uncomfortable feeling because they haven't felt it before.
I think that some people kind of think you'll ascend to the point where eventually your training gets easy, but you keep building muscle as well, which isn't the case, right? Like we want a progressive stimulus for the tissue to adapt and grow. It needs to experience a significant stressor. Basically, meaning your training should always feel hard. The tissue should feel very fatigued. If it doesn't, we're probably not doing what we need to grow. So, like your training feeling hard, you being in a set of leg press, and I was like, oh my god, I feel like my quads are gonna rip. That's good because that's positive feedback. That's not a negative thing. That's positive feedback that like, hey, we're probably getting the thing we want out of this, right? We want muscle growth out of this. This is a good sign that I'm probably getting a decent hypertrophy stimulus as long like a lot of other variables there, but at the simplest level, this is a good sign that we're probably getting a good stimulus, getting the growth we want out of this. But again, like if we avoid that, we're not going to grow. And again, it's like I would just like let go of the expectation that will stop feeling difficult. I think mentally it does get a lot easier to train hard. You start to enjoy it a lot more. Over time, it becomes the only thing you enjoy, and nothing else really makes you happy. But just let go of the expectation that eventually it'll like feel easy and you'll keep building muscle because again, like it should feel hard. That's how we continue to improve. Just like I think in other like if you look at like I don't know like running, if you're like a running training for a marathon, right? Like you continually progress your times, but like it's not like you run further, it doesn't get easier. And I don't know a shit about running, so bear with me on this, right? It doesn't necessarily get easier. Like we expect to like have to continue to do more to get better. Here it's just we're lifting more load, more reps, whatever, but it's still going to be difficult. Anything to
Yeah.
add before we continue?
I would say, like, relative to your level, it's still hard, right? So, like,
Yeah.
let's say you're on level 1 and let's say someone else is on level 5. It's hard for both of them at their respective levels. And what gets better is your tolerance for the discomfort that comes with really hard training and what you can endure and like what it feels like to be in the set and in the muscle and generating like that significant tension. So think about like a leg extension is a good example because I think a lot of people are familiar with like the quote burn that they feel like in a tough leg extension set. So like as you advance and improve your training and get better, you are better able to tolerate and push through that burning sensation to keep going until you can't. Whereas when you're starting out, like you get that like fiery burn and then you stop because you're like, oh my gosh, that's really hard. That's really uncomfortable. Like I'm done. And then the more advanced you get, the more you realize like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but I've still got more in me. Like I still can physically move this load. So I have to keep going.
I think that the more you can go into it with a mindset that this is gonna feel really difficult. If I'm doing leg extensions, this is gonna burn really bad. And that's the goal. That's what I want out of this. Rather than like, oh, I hope this isn't really hard and this doesn't really suck this time. It'll just go so much better. All right. They don't think that a movement not immediately feeling good means that the movement isn't for them. Very, very common one as well. A lot of times movements just won't click initially. RDLs are a very, very common example of this. Or if you've like had, this is also very common if you had like past like injury history, like let's say you tweaked your back with an RDL where it's stuck with a mindset of I just can't do that movement. We need to do something else, right? Where like 9.5 out of 9.99999 times out of 10, it's just an execution thing that we need to clean up. And a lot of times, the things we suck at, like again, in this case, we probably suck at hinging. We need to learn how to hinge. The things we suck at are the things that we need to address to get the result you want, right? Because it's also very commonly like, I want to build my glutes, but I don't know how to hinge, right? Or like, I don't hinge because I hurt my back hinging in the past. So we need to do a different movement.
But my primary goal is to build glutes.
Correct. And run a marathon. No, my primary goal is to build glutes. But again,
But I
like we
can't.
gotta, right. It's almost always always the things we suck at that are kind of our biggest bottlenecks for progress. We're just gonna come with a frustrating period of working through it, remastering the movement. Honestly, maybe even sometimes we feel like you like slightly tweak that thing that was giving you some issues because again, we're kind of working through it. But on the other side of it, as we get the movement mastered, there's going to be so much progress there. Then we don't like tweak our back all the time anymore. But it can be very, very limiting for your progress if you have this on your list of movements. Like, well, I did this once, it didn't feel good for me, so I can't do that. I can't do that. It's just the bottleneck for, oh, not within coaching. It's not because this is something we work through, but I've seen it be the bottleneck for so many people in the past, like coming in where, again, like hinges are our most common one. They just like don't hinge at all. Anything else y'all would add there?
That's also somewhat mindset related. I mean, I understand like no one who has a previous injury like is interested in being injured again. I mean, I understandable and I get it. But, when you come into coaching with where the list of like what you won't or can't do is longer than what you will do, it's like, hey, I want you to coach me. These are my goals, but I won't do this, this, this. I don't want to eat this, this, this. It's kind of like, well, like, this is part of our problem.
It's truly a crazy thing, just how much sick progress someone can make when they just follow the plan. Just put together a plan, they follow it, and people just crush it. It's mind blowing, right? It's almost like that's why coaches are here. It is also mind blowing sometimes how hard people are determined to just, I gotta keep not following this plan exactly, right? Can I tweak it just enough to stay in my own way and not make any progress, but keep paying this coach? I don't have anything else really to add there. They have a consistent training schedule and fueling and hydration schedule to match that. Also, I would say pretty underrated. Talked about this many times. If we go into a session, we're going into like 50% of our sessions and our training quality sucks because we're underfueled, we're dehydrated, we just haven't managed our nutrition well, like we haven't eaten for like 4 or 5 hours prior to training, our training quality is going to suffer. Again, similar to like missing a couple sessions per week or every couple of weeks, if like half of our sessions are shit because we're not fueled well, we're not getting nearly as much out of that as we could. In general, like for a lot of people, physique development or the bottleneck for physique development is just getting more organized with, hey, you might need to meal prep ahead more. We might need to have like a schedule. We might need to plan when we train into our calendar so we're not training at times like our training isn't constantly getting pushed back. We're not constantly deprioritizing ourselves. For a lot of people, that is the bottleneck. I would say for a lot of people, that's one of the biggest things to work, or the hardest things to work through because it's kind of like life skills, or the people are most resistant to working through. But I think a lot of people don't understand how much a lack of organization is holding them back. Anything else y'all would add there?
This is separate from hydration, but along the same lines with like the scheduling. So often someone will start out strong and then there will be this point where it's like, why have things like slowed down a little bit? Or why is their biofeedback all of a sudden like not looking the best? And so I'll go through full dogs and it's like we've just kind of like completely drifted away from the meal plan that we started with or the template of your meals that we started with. And why do we have like 60 grams of protein in this meal and 6 in this meal? And it's really along those same lines of like the going in hydrated and with the consistent schedule. We're starting out with let's get this much water when you wake up, and then let's get this much water on the way to the gym and during your training session, and this is the meal or types of carbs and protein that we're going to have before you go into your training session. And then we don't typically for every single person have them follow the exact same meal plan for forever. Like we'll start to add some flexibility there, but then whenever that flexibility turns into like just completely losing all of the structure from that plan, then things slow down, and that makes sense. But it's really easy to kind of let yourself slip into those same habits. So similarly to like, let's keep that consistent training schedule, fueling, hydration. We also need to hold on to the things that are there for a reason and make flexibility within reason in that programming, but keep the main purpose of it.
Just like a basic structure to your food, your hydration is always going to consistently be a part of making progress. You have to have some aspect of that, or we're just going to have a bad time. Natalie, you said they don't hoard calories or macros for the end of the day.
Yeah, I thought that kind of applied to this point that we've been talking about. You know, like we've set up your kind of structure. Again, this is someone whose like primary goal is to add muscle tissue and like change the shape of their body, but like you're basically running a deficit all day just so you can have that sweet treat at the end of the night. And you know, I was coming for the sweet treat. Like every chance I get, I'm coming for your sweet treat. I know. But you know what I mean? It's like you're essentially like in a catabolic state like all day. You're like dieting all day just to have this like huge calorie bomb at night or something, because that's what you have to live for, or something like that. But our training's earlier in the day and we're essentially like dieting during the day. Like that's what that is. That's what the body perceives. Not very conducive to muscle growth.
Absolutely not. No sweet treats. Y'all can actually have sweet treats.
Not ever.
Just not if you're Natalie's client. They don't fixate on not letting the scale go up. This is a huge one, right? The goal is to build muscle tissue. Your goal is to add weight to your frame via muscle mass. Over time, thus, you at your leanest should still be getting heavier. I think all of us at our leanest weight now, quite a lot heavier than we would have been like 4 or 5 years ago. Same thing for like so many of our clients. We talk about this constantly, like especially working with a lot of women who are fairly lean. When they start coaching, it isn't abnormal to see someone go from like, all right, we're like lean, but we don't have that much shape. We don't really look like we lift, to like a year and a half later, physique looks completely different. We're much leaner and much more jacked. There's only a couple of pounds difference between those two pictures due to the amount of muscle we've added. But that oftentimes takes an extended time frame of building where the scale may slowly be trending up. Very, very likely will slowly be trending up, right? We have to be able to separate that from, okay, I'm gaining fat and all this is going poorly, which again is something that's so deeply ingrained that a lot of times it takes a long time to just like get used to it and accept it, but just holds so many people back. I feel like I've had this conversation a lot lately, as I have a lot of clients who have just wrapped up fat loss and are getting into like building phases, or like phases where we're working their food up. And a lot of them has come down to like, hey, I do this for years and years. Like my success as a coach depends on you also doing well. I don't want you to get fat any more than you do. So I do appreciate the reminder, but I also don't need you to remind me every week that you don't want to get fat, because we're still on the same page here. I want you to look good just as much as you do. And I like say that kind of tongue in cheek, but also I like always want clients to understand, like, dude, this is how I take care of my family. Like my success rides on you being successful as well. So we're like both so invested in this. Don't worry, I got you. I've taken so many people through this. Like we can make it through. Like we're not gonna. The only like for most people, this is the obstacle, is like under eating and not actually building the muscle. Where we just want to. That's kind of like a lot for a lot of people. Their cycle they've been stuck in for so long, right? Same as like the people who are perpetually trying to recomp. But I would say other ways this kind of manifests. For example, like, okay, hey, we're in a place where I think we need more food now, right? Like, let's say when we're in a reverse or a build, and like we'll increase macros, and I'll see like, but now we're like they underate their targets, or they're consistently under eating their targets by a couple hundred calories, right? Or like they're pulling their fat down, or they're increasing their steps every time we increase food to like try to compensate for it. It's like, hey, this isn't the goal. Like, I want you to have more energy available to be able to build more muscle tissue, not try to make up for any increase in food by you moving more or burning more off. Like, the goal is to have more calories available so that we can better recover and better build more muscle. I would say in general too, like, honestly, y'all have a lot of people who have really successful building phases who do well over 15K steps per day. People are probably going to hate this, but do you?
No.
I don't. That's where like steps are sick. Steps are a great tool to have. But I think people again take it way too far with like, I'm gonna try to offset all the calories I eat by walking more. Where again, like the goal of eating more is we have more calories available, we can recover better. Our body senses we're in a state of abundance and we can actually grow new tissue, not just keep trying to burn it off. So again, like there's nothing wrong with doing plenty of steps. There's nothing wrong with doing 15K steps per day. But I really do see a very clear correlation between people who are like pushing it well beyond that and people who have a really, really hard time building muscle. Now, that's often aligned with a lot of other habits that are holding us back, but some very big commonalities there. Anything else y'all would add before we continue? Cool. They address poor sex hormone profiles and other health issues. Again, especially we work with a lot of women, 40s, 50s. A lot of times sex hormones aren't in a good place. I feel like we talked about this quite in depth on a podcast recently as well, like how much like the roles each individual sex hormone plays in your ability to change body composition. But if like our testosterone is in the floor, we'll be able to build muscle, but we'll have a harder time. Our recovery won't be as good. Our ability to push as hard won't be as good. Estrogen also gonna be very important for recovery, muscle growth, and as a whole, like changing body composition. Sex hormones are so important. Thyroid as well, very important variable here. When we're in a place where like those things are in the gutter, we know they're in the gutter, and we're not willing to address it. And it's again like, and I'm not gonna like this. There's multiple ways we can. Like a lot of times when we're talking about like, hey, we need to like go through a health phase to fix this issue, so that we can more productively build in the future, right? If we're not willing to sometimes like take that step back to address the bottleneck, getting the progress we want will be so much harder. Again, like Andrea, your health phase, both of y'all's have gone through health phases that I know were very, very productive for your long-term progress. But a lot of times it does mean we have to be willing to kind of take a step back and focus on prioritizing fixing that issue in order to actually make progress. Y'all have anything you would add there?
Yeah, I don't want this to turn into any kind of fear mongering or like everybody needs to go out and get labs every 5 seconds, or anything of the sort. But like if your environment, and by that I mean like your body, your hormonal profile, like is not set up to conducively build muscle, building muscle is already slow. Like it's already a grind. So like it's going to be even harder. And I do find there are a lot of clients who are of the mindset, and I don't blame them because I think it comes from like a lot of information on social media probably, but they're of the mindset that like all I need for my goal is like the right meal plan and the right training program. And there are other contributors and other things that matter. So you could be doing all the quote right things in like an environment that is just like not ideal and like not set up for that kind of growth. And at that point, we're taking a slow process and we're making it even slower. And I had a client a long time ago who was kind of frustrated with her progress. Like, why is this going so slow? And we took a look at labs and like they weren't great. And so I said, okay, like hey, here are some steps I think we could take to improve those things. And she wasn't willing to do those things. I'm talking about like a multi mineral, like if you like some vitamin D, some stuff like that. And I'm not saying that supplements are always the answer, but like they're called supplements for a reason. They are there to supplement some things that maybe you don't have or you're not getting. And like to me, that was fairly low hanging fruit. Hey, I'm gonna like pay $12 for a quality multivitamin, you know, $20 for a good vitamin D, and like this will probably help. Like why, like we can't ignore that some of those things actually might help us. And so, thinking that like, oh, I'm just going to out train zero testosterone or like, zero across the board of like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, like you're fighting biology at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Especially with things like that, right? Like vitamin D. If you're low in vitamin D, your energy, like so many different factors and so many different bodily processes are rely on you having an adequate amount of that.
Yeah.
But again, just like even how you feel, your quality of life will instantly improve a lot. Just like sometimes it is like, hey, there are basics with like our nutrient density of our food, our supplementation. Like we're not staying on top of like the game plan we laid out to address these issues in blood work. Where if we would just be consistent with these basic things, dude, we could make so much more progress. But especially if we're at the same time having conversations around, oh, hey, I have this thing coming up in a month and I want to diet for it. It's like, well, we still haven't addressed this thing. Like, we can't, we're not in a better place than we were last time we had to pull you out of the diet because we weren't making a lot of progress until we needed to address until we fix these things, right? Like, but again, it oftentimes just takes being willing to take a step back and put your focus elsewhere and oftentimes focusing on these things that aren't as exciting, right? Like making sure we're nailing, like in that case, the basic supplementation or whatever it may be. Anything to add? Okay. They practice delayed gratification. Natalie, was this you as well?
I think it was you, but in red.
Oh my God.
Um,
I'm sorry I said anything.
right, that'll teach you. I think that's a great way to like wrap up this entire list because I think we've touched on this indirectly, like through so many of these points. That building muscle in general is a slow grind and you have to be playing the long game here. Like you have to be playing, for the payoff much, much, much further into the future. So again, you're not trying to diet every trip, birthday, Tuesday, summer, whatever. Like you're putting all of that off. You're willing to get uncomfortable. So I think that just speaks to a lot of things here.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, hopefully this was helpful, y'all. If you enjoy the show, do us a huge favor. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you would like to apply for coaching with our team, hit the link in the show notes, and we will catch you guys next time.